Hey everyone, Kyle DeWitt, pharmacist here. We're going to go over how to set up a PCA pump in the emergency department. So to start off, a couple things about where the different items are located at and what you're going to need. First thing is going to be your PC or your pump brain. The second component is going to be the locked PCA channel or the locked syringe channel. And this is typically stored where all of the other channels are, but on the lower level of the cart that's right under the patient track board. The third component is going to be the PCA tubing and plunger, which are located in Mike Romeo's office. And then lastly, the actual medication that will be delivered down in typically a large 30 or 60 cc syringe and stocked in the Pyxis by pharmacy. So when you obtain the medication and all of your supplies, the other thing that you'll need is the PCA key, which is stocked in the AC Pyxis. And in order to get this, you'll go in under Stat Patient and override you'll type in key, K-E-Y, and then you'll see the key for the PCA to be removed. So you'll pull that out, and we will set up our syringe. So the contents within this kit are going to be your PCA tubing and then the plunger. When these medication syringes are sent down from pharmacy, it will be in a syringe without the plunger on here, and it's a special PCA syringe. And so what you'll have to do is take the gray PCA syringe, and it will fit in tightly to the gray PCA plunger, and it will screw into the syringe and lock in. Once you have that in place, we'll simulate the gray plunger here. You will pull out your PCA tubing, hook this up, lure lock, and then manually prime your line to remove all the air and get the medication to the end of the tubing. Once your line is primed, we're going to get this set up in the actual channel here. And so this component of the syringe will lock right underneath this gray clasp, like so. Once that's in there, this clamp can rotate over and lock the syringe into place. Once that's in, we're going to turn this upper level and slide it down just until it hits the top of the plunger, and then you can see it lock into place underneath, and this is what actually controls how quickly the medication is being administered from the brain. So we have that set up. Next thing we're going to do is close the case. We're going to turn the key to program and power on our pump. So we'll set up as we would for a new patient. One important note is that the PCA channel must be directly to the right of the brain. So if you have another channel in here, it's not going to allow you to program a dose. And it also won't work if you try putting it on the left side. So it needs to be directly to the right of the brain. We're going to select yes for a critical care patient. And then as soon as we select our channel, the brain will automatically recognize that it's a PCA channel. And so we're going to confirm. And then this is our library of our different PCA medications. Typically what we would see down in the emergency department is probably either a fentanyl continuous infusion, a hydromorphone PCA, or perhaps even a morphine PCA or a ketamine continuous infusion. For the purpose of this video, we'll set up a hydromorphone PCA. Depending on the patient's opioid requirements, they may need a different range of dosing. I will typically select a very high dose if it's a patient that has sickle cell crises, or we have to administer a lot of opioids, and so that's just going to allow us a bigger dosing ceiling. The next option is to select which syringe size you have, and this is based on the specific medication. For this example, we'll say that we have a 30 cc syringe, and so we're confirming that we have hydromorphone 30 milligrams in a 30 cc syringe. The next part is selecting the infusion modes, and this has a couple different options available. A PCA dose only, which will administer doses only when the patient clicks the remote. A continuous infusion, which is just going to be a medication that's infused over continuously over a certain amount of time. A combination of a PCA dose plus a continuous infusion, or a loading dose only. This is a prompt or an option for nurses that have a continuous infusion running, but they just want to administer a separate loading dose, and so it won't allow the patient to actually administer it, but the nurse can go in and select it. And so we will set up a continuous infusion plus a PCA, and these are going to be based on the medication orders that come through to the nursing MAR. The PCA dose, as I mentioned, is going to be the dose that is administered every period or in an interval of time once the patient clicks their PCA remote. And so for this example, we'll say that we want 0.5 milligrams. Your lockout interval is the amount of time that has to pass in between doses. And so this can be a range of time. Typically, it'll be somewhere within the area of about 15 minutes. And so what this will allow is every 15 minutes the patient can self-administer a dose of 0.5 milligrams hydromorphone. Our continuous dose is the amount that is going to be running continuously, and so we'll say the team had ordered a 2 milligram per hour infusion, and then our max limit is the maximum amount of drug in milligrams that they can receive over an hour, and so this is just the sum of all of these previous doses. So this patient has a continuous dose of 2 milligrams an hour, and then they're getting 0.5 every 15 minutes. So that's an additional up to 2 milligrams. And so this patient would have a max of 4 milligrams per hour. And this is just telling us it's below our very high dosing limit, so that's okay. We'll override that. And then we are going to lock the door, so we'll turn our key from program to lock. And now on the screen we can confirm all of our criteria that we just programmed, make sure that's correct, and then once we hit start, the pump will start to infuse the continuous infusion, and so this was set at 2 milligrams an hour. And now the patient has the option to administer their PCA bolus every 15 minutes, and so they can click their remote, and you'll now see the pump switch to delivering PCA dose. And once this finishes, it will resume back to the continuous infusion dose.